There's always like 2 seconds of my face, often of my chin, in the front of all of these lectures. Okay, so. Okay, so let's start that again. Why, hello. All right. So, okay, so let's actually do a full-fledged testing of this database function. All right, now if I were really doing this, I probably would write the test first because I'm a fan of test-driven development, but we've already written the function. So now we will actually just make a new directory called test. And then inside, I'll make a file called db-test.js. All right, so now this file is going to be testing my database functions. Let me make sure that I have Mocha and Chai installed so I can check in my package.json. And I do have Mocha and Chai installed, so that's great. So go back to my test, my db test file. Okay, so first thing I usually do is just let's see, const expect both require chai dot expect. Okay, so because I know I'm going to be using that. And then I also am going to be using my database here. So I'm going to, from this db.js, I'm also going to export the db. So now I have this db to export. So let's see, I'm trying to get better at the keyboard shortcuts. All right, so now we're going to say const db, and what was the other? Get pets and species. Okay, why am I importing get pets and species?
Calling it inside of some of the tests.
Exactly, that's what we're testing, and so we need to have it to call it for our tests. And the DB, we actually might not need the DB now that I'm thinking about it. If we just have get pets and species, let's see what happens. Okay, cool. So now let's do a describe, and I'm just going to say test get. Let's see. I think we often just do get pets and species like this. Maybe you put parentheses around it to indicate it's a function. And then we're going to do the function with our its now. And let's look back. So what do we want to test? Well, at this point, we don't really know what we want to test unless we know what's in our test database, right? So, but let's just say, for now, let's just say it returns the correct number of results. Okay, and so something's going to go in there. Right now, ESLint is super mad at me, but I can take it. All right, so yeah, so now let's talk about doing the test database. Have any of you done a test database before?
I did with someone's help.
Okay, so tell me, what do I do in this file in order to do a test database? Yeah, I can check an environment variable. Yeah, so I can say here, I can say connection equals this and put connection here, But then connection is not going to be this entirely. I'm going to say if there is a node, if, how do I check environment variables? Process.env. And then I put whatever the environment variable is called. It is highly conventional to, strong convention to call your environment variables with all caps, but not necessary. Okay, so if that is equal to test, then I want connection to be set to right? Otherwise, I want it to be the pets. So let's, we don't have a lot of screen real estate here, so I'm just gonna separate this out, and yeah, I know, you hate me. So if this is true, then I'm gonna set connection to pets test, otherwise I'm gonna set it to pets. You guys have seen ternary, right? Yeah. Okay, cool. Connection, oh, that's right, you don't, I've had this lovely dip back into Python with talking to the coaches yesterday, and I was talking to another learner about it this morning, and I am losing some of my JavaScript rigor. So, all right, so here, yeah, okay, so good. So ESLint likes me and the world is good. So how are we gonna set this environment variable? How did you set it?
You can either do it in command line, you can also do it in Node.
Yes. Yeah, and I'm going to do it in the package.json. And I like doing it in the package.json because, in my test script, because then that environment variable is set only for the tests. And it gets set for the tests, and then it gets unset when this test script is finished running. So I don't have to worry about cleaning up after it. So for example, for now, I'm just gonna say for the test, and how do I set the environment variable? What do I do? And I'm gonna do something else after this, but for now, I'm just gonna work with the export node environment equals test. And so if we go, now if I run npm test, oh, first I want to echo echo whatever node environment is, and this is how we check to see what a node what an environment variable is. You do echo and then $, and then the environment variable's name. It's nothing. Okay. And now if I do the npm test, it did that export node m test. So you might expect node m to be test now, but the nice thing is it kind of cleans up after itself. It creates like a special little shell that it's running the test in, and it doesn't affect this shell. So I can say, here, I can say, now I can do an and, which means do this one, wait until it's finished, and then if it finishes successfully, run the next one. Okay, so now it knows that node env is test within there, but again, it leaves it unchanged in the current shell. Okay, cool. So now let's go back here. Uh-oh, what did I do? And instead of echo node env, what we really want is to run Mocha. Mocha will know to look in the test directory, and then it will know to go into db test. It runs everything in the test directory. Okay, so, all right, so now we know if we do npm test, when we require this file, it's going to run all of the lines in this file. And when it runs all the lines in this file, it is going to know that this is true. And so it's going to set our connection to pets test. And that's what we're going to connect to for the testing. Questions on that? That's really important for testing.
Can you say that again?
Yeah. So what I did in the package.json is I made sure to set an environment variable, the node env environment variable to test, before I ran Mocha. Then when Mocha runs, it's going to run this db-test.js, which is requiring my DB file. And in my DB file, when you require it, it runs the DB file. And in the DB file, this line here is going to check whether node env is test, and it is, because I set that up in my package.json for my script. If it is going to set my connection to my database essentially to be the pets test database. Otherwise, if it doesn't find that node env is test, it is going to set the connection to be just the pets database. So that's so that I can continue to use it in a production way. All right, great. So now I want predictable information in my database every time I run it. Because if you're testing your database, you are not going to, you don't know, if you don't know what's in the database, you're not going to be able to run effective tests. You want to know exactly what's in the database so you can know exactly what you're going to expect to come out of your commands. Okay, so let's work on that. And so I'm going to make another directory, and I'm going to call it utilities. It's not stuff that I really want to test. It's just things that I'm going to use in my tests. And in utilities, I'm going to make a new file called db utilities. So this db utilities, I'm going to make a function that resets my database so that every time I do a test, the database is going to be reset. So even if I add something to the database in one of my tests, I'm just going to wipe that out, and the next test is going to have a clean database. Now, one of the problems is I can't just drop the database and recreate it. If I try and do that, do you know what will happen?
It's not there, it will give you an error.
For the drop part, true, yes. So that's one reason not to do it. But even if it's there, you're still not going to be able to do it. Or I should say, definitely for the second test, you won't be able to do it. But I think probably not even for the first, because, okay, and the reason is, rather than me dithering around about what you can and can't do, the reason is when you run this file, it connects to the database. And if you try and drop it, you're going to get that error that Matteo posted about in phase 1 or phase 2 this morning. I don't know if you saw that the database is in use. You can't drop it because you have a database connection for your tests themselves. So you can't drop your database in the middle of your tests unless you really want to like end the connection, drop your database, recreate your database, and start the connection again. Instead, what we're going to do is we are just going to truncate all the tables in the database. Truncate means empty We're going to empty all the tables in the database. So the way we're going to do that, let's see, in DB utilities, so I'm going to make an init DB. Oh, but first I'm definitely going to have to require, so keep assuming I want two. I only want one. Okay. So I have to require this. All right, now I'm going to do function. And okay. So in initDB, I want to go through and for every table that I have, I want to truncate them. So let's see what truncating tables does. So I'm going to, let me first create the pets DB. Create DB, pets test. And now because I happen to have this seed file, this one here, that actually populates it, I'm going to populate. I'm going to populate the database. So oh, but I didn't create the tables. So I need to create the tables first. Now the tables are there. Now I can see. Okay. So if I go into those are my tables. And I can do that, and I have data in there. Does it matter in what order I truncate these tables? You can't truncate tables that have referential integrity, where you're going to violate referential integrity with other tables. You need to make sure that you're respecting the referential integrity or you're going to get errors. So, and again, referential integrity means you, if this species ID is being referenced from this table, I cannot delete that row in the species ID table. It also means I can't use a species ID that's not in the species ID table. That's important when you're inserting things, not when you're deleting things.
Does that also mean you could drop the entire public schema?
I could, but I'm going to truncate the tables instead. Okay, so let's see. I'm actually not going to be able to truncate pets. Why not? Pet owners has a foreign key for pets. All right, let's try pet owners. Cool. Now I should be able to do pets. But I already did truncate table pet owners. Yeah. All right, fine. So I can do truncate table pets and I can do cascade. I just feel like I shouldn't have to because because I've already emptied, but that's fine. Okay, so it cascades to pet owners, which is already empty, but fine. And then we'll do species and owners. Okay.
So when you're truncating a table, you're emptying the data inside the rows, but you're maintaining the rows. The columns rather.
Maintaining the columns, yes. The table structure remains the same. I'm not dropping the table and recreating it, which I could if I wanted to, but I'm maintaining the table structure. I'm just getting rid of all of the data. Yeah, so there's a difference between that, and so if I can still do my select star from pet owners, nothing's there, but if I drop table pet owners, now it's like pet owners doesn't exist. Yeah.
Can you truncate table wildcard cascade in schema public?
We can try. All right, so truncate table star cascade, and then I think where, so you want where, right, how do I look at the schema? We'll do a search. Truncate all tables cascade. Okay, looks like it's not trivial. Frustrated with forms designer is correct. Okay. Okay, so, right, so now I do not have a pet owners table anymore, so let me recreate it. No, that was my seed. Let's go to tables. Okay, so now I have my pet owners table. It's recreated. Fine. So I have all my tables, but they're all empty. Okay. Now I do want to note that if I were to add something to pets, so pets, all I need is a name and a species ID. Fine. If I were to add something to species, and now I do a select star from species. Notice that my species ID is 4. You're nodding, Mateo. Yeah, you've seen this before? Yeah. If you truncate the table, it doesn't automatically reset the IDs. There's a command you can use to reset the IDs, which I don't remember, so I'm going to look it up. Does anybody know offhand? Restart identity. Okay, cool. Okay, so we're going to truncate table species, and I should have capitalized table. Capitalize it in your minds. Restart identity cascade. Okay, so now if we insert dinosaur again, now it gets ID 1. Well, thanks for looking that up, Jenny. All right. Great. So, okay, we're finally ready. Testing promises. We'll get to it in about 15 minutes. We're finally ready to, in our DB, do I have db.js open twice? I didn't know you could do that. Okay. So now in my dbutilities.js, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say tables species, pets, pet owners, and owners. Now, I'm thinking, Josh, this is the way that I've been shown how to do it. But I am thinking there is. So in Python, now that I've gotten started on my Python thing, like you're never going to hear the end of it. But in Python, you use this object relational mapper, and it's very easy to drop all of the tables and then create all of the tables, so you don't have to go through this rigmarole, right? Whereas, so I don't like the fact that I have to list the tables here. Yes, Monica.
I don't know if this is honestly what you just mentioned ORM. I'm wondering, like, why would I use an ORM instead of just making like queries to the database?
Ask me tomorrow when I'm talking about Python.
I will do that.
Yes. The question was, why would you use an ORM? ORMs totally rock unless they are bookshelf or SQLized, in which case they're a complete pain. So, so Python ORMs totally rock. But I do want to think about a way that I can, if I add a new table, I don't have to remember to add it here, because that seems very messy to me. But for now, this is so I'll think about that. But for now, this is what I'm doing. So tables.forEach. And I want to do db dot, actually I want to do a promises.all here, because I want all of them to finish. And actually, Jedi, as you know, like, order is important, but even if I didn't have to use the cascade, even if I didn't have to use the cascade after I had truncated a previous table, I would have to use it now, because if you do promises.all, you have no idea what order it's going to happen in. So db.any, let's return. Why am I returning db.any? Yeah, it's actually more that I need to wait. I want to wait until this db.any finishes before I return from the function. Although that doesn't give me synchronicity either, but I always, whenever I do a promise, I'm always very careful to return it, just to make sure that it doesn't like move on from the function before the promise is finished. But it doesn't seem to work for each anyway, but it's just a good habit to get into. Okay, so db. At least not in Node, it doesn't work for each. I think it does in browsers. All right, so db.any, and we're going to do drop table, and I'm going to do a, why am I doing backticks instead of like a $1? Yeah, why don't I just do like a $1 here though, and do,
Does it have to do with the thing we were working on yesterday where you're pulling in variables from an array?
no, because I'm doing a for each. It's because that $1 does some special, it does some special interpretation, and it's really only meant to be used for things in the where clause, basically. Otherwise, you should use this template literal. Okay, so drop table. I don't know. I actually, that might require some more research, whether or not to use $1 here. So I just want to, since this goes out to posterity and doesn't just like disappear and I can't deny it later. Like, okay, so drop table, and then what were all the other things we put? Restart identity and cascade.
So are we dropping or truncating?
Oh, we're truncating, thank you. All right, so now, and then here I definitely want to return promises.all because I do not want init.db to return before it's resolved all of these promises. And then actually I'm going to do a reset db here instead, and I'm going to do a const seed db, and then I'm going to do a const reset. And I'm just going to do an initdb dot then seed db, and I'll return this. Because seeddb is going to return a promise too. Didn't I tell you yesterday you should always be using JSDoc? Okay. So truncate all tables in the database. So if I were doing a better job of this, I can do a .catch here too. But in general, I would probably want to check to make sure this worked properly before moving on. Okay, so yeah, I'm clearly not in the habit of doing a JSDoc before everything, but I actually would really like to try to be. So this now seeds, add seed data to DB and promise to results. That's incredibly vague. I may update that later. Okay, so now let's just say, man, okay, I'm actually going to results of exec call. I'm going to do this in not a JavaScript way because I don't want to spend a huge amount of time trying to write JavaScript that seeds my database. So I'm instead going to do exec. So I am going to do const exec require. Did anybody do this just recently and remember? Can I just do this? Let's throw caution to the winds. What does exec do? It executes a system command. Because basically what I want to do is just execute this system command. And I'm going to hard code this, but in reality, I wouldn't. But so psql pets test, and okay, it's going to be running from this directory. So in order to get the seed, no, it's not going to be running from this directory. This is something that's actually quite confusing. This script is going to run when I call my npm test, right? And npm test runs in the top level directory. So this script, I'm going to assume, is going to be running from the top level directory. So to access this seed file, I'm just going to have to say db/c.sql. It's not relative to where the script lives. It's relative to where the script is run from. Super confusing. Okay, and then I think exec takes a callback. Let's just look quickly. Child process. Okay, let's look at this. Command, options, and then the callback. Okay, so exec. There we go. Error, standard out, and standard error. And it looks like I did not do the right require. So let's go back here. And I'm just gonna leave it at that for now. Again, not the most complete reporting. Okay, let's see. Not the most complete programming. Now you happy? No? Oh. Yeah, well, neither is standard error. So, or neither standard error. Okay. Nope, still not happy? Unexpected. Oh. It wants this. Okay, and then, oh no, now it's very unhappy.
Oh, I see. Tables.
I find this so useful, right? Look at all the syntax errors. Oh, and then it wants me to do this. By the way, this weekend I did a bunch of coding with await because I wanted to return await, or I wanted to learn await, and it just makes the code. I think it makes the code so much more readable. Now what's your problem? Is there? Oh, okay. You're still unhappy? Oh, yeah. I need to deal with this trailing comma stuff. I don't like it in function stuff, so I need to set my ESLint to ignore it. Okay, so good. All right, so now that's all good. So now basically what I want is for it. So now I want to do this before each test. So how do I get it to do it before each test? Yeah, we'll do it before each here. And we have to get reset DB. Okay. No, oh, dot slash. Okay, I think we're doing pretty good. All right, I'm just gonna ignore that for now. So, all right, so now we're finally getting to testing promises. All right, so if we go back to db.js, we see this is gonna be returning a promise, get pets and species. And it resolves to an array of object used with the keys name and species. Even though I just did this yesterday, I'm super glad for this documentation, right? Rather than having to try and figure everything out. All right, so let's run get pets and species. dot then I'm just not sure what your problem is. Do you really need me to do this? All right, I'll deal with you later. All right, so get pets and species, and now I have my results. So now I can do expect results.length to equal, and I believe in my seed file, I have 4 pets. So let's look in the seed file. So yeah, I have 4 pets. And get pets and species gives me 1 line for every pet. So I'm going to expect it to equal 4. Okay. And now I need to put this return here to make sure that it doesn't finish the it before this is resolved. All right, you're still mad at me. Okay. All right. The problem is that Mocha and Chai don't like arrow functions, but ESLint loves them. So I'm gonna I'll fight this battle another day with ESLint. But in general, you can get into problems with this in Mocha and Chai if you use arrow functions. Just something to keep in mind. But I live to serve ESLint, so. All right, so NPM test. What odds do you give it that it is going to work properly? That's probably higher than I would at this point. Okay. All right, so we got 0 and expected it to equal 4. Okay. Let's. But interestingly, it didn't. It did get something that had a length. It got something that had a length of 0. So I think the problem might be with our resetting, and perhaps we are not. Maybe we're not waiting until that seed has run before we. Yeah, in fact, I think we might not be. So, this is so complicated. Okay, so let's go back here, and I think what's happening is that it is returning from seeddb before it actually does anything, before the exec is finished. And so we are looking at an empty database. Because I think the exec worked. We can check that by going into no, maybe it didn't. Well, shoot. If let's see. Okay, let's just see what kind of results we're getting from here. Because this didn't work at all. Although I still think we need to probably do something with freaking callbacks. But It's not even running it. Man, why did I choose to do database? Okay, so so I'm just going to forget about this. Forget about this for now. I'm just going to comment all of this out, and I'm just going to say I'm just going to insert something into species and insert something into pets, and that's going to be my database. Okay, so let's see. Oh, and this is where it's good to do $1. Okay. I'm getting a little better. Okay, and pet. Okay. Okay. I do the return, so it'll first of all return the promise. And then okay. So I do a dot then, so it'll return the so that it'll return the promise, and I do want to make sure that I return this. Oh no, I don't. Yeah, see, and this is what async and await helps with. Like this horrible, like it's a one line, so you need to do an implicit return. But then, anyway, so I'm returning this implicitly, and then I am. So I'm waiting for the first one to resolve. Then I'm doing a dot then. I'm doing a dot catch, like a good person should. So now let's try again and see what we get. And hopefully now we'll get 1 does not equal 4. No, we get 0 doesn't equal 4. All right, so I think I have asynchronicity problems somewhere, which is really usually why things don't work for me in Node and why Python is so much better. So yeah. All right, so let's figure out what's going on. So initdb, we are returning the promise there, so that's okay. And then seeddb, we are returning. And if we go into our test, we are returning this resetDB. Oh, we're returning the function, not the function call. And as a matter of fact, all we really want to do is run resetDB. Do you guys see what the problem was there? I was returning, like when I had this here, I was just returning the function. I wasn't ever actually calling the function, which is why when I did all that console logging for the exec, like it didn't show me anything. I never actually called the function. Shame on me. So now I don't even need to like make an anonymous function. I know exactly what I want to do. That's the function I want to do, right? So let's try it again. Okay, so now now I'm getting a different error. Different error always means progress, right? So the before each hook, what about it? initdb.then is not a function. Oh, what's going on here? Initdb.then is not a function.
Oh, because the name got changed.
Still initdb. You're onto something there, Mateo. It's actually the exact same thing. I forgot to call the function. I just like sort of was like, here you go. And they're like, initdb is a function and you can't do .then on a function. You have to do .then on a promise, which is what's returned when I run the function. I don't know if I can blame that on asynchronicity. That was just me being dumb. So, yeah. Okay. db.any is not a function. Really? Okay. Oh, I think I have to do this. It was just requiring, so db was the object of the exports from here, as opposed to the actual database object. You guys with me on that? All I want to see is 1 does not equal 4. Cannot read property catch of undefined. Well, that's fascinating. It's line 13. You want to take back your 50-50 assessment? Yeah, true. Okay, so line 15, but that's not even the dot catch. Can you not do, you can do a dot catch for promise dot all.
Is it, are we not? Because normally with a catch, you're passing something, you're passing the error.
Yeah, I didn't give it an actual function. But it's implying that that is undefined. Like, because it's saying I can't read property catch of undefined. So it's implying that this is undefined and it can't read the property catch from it. I'll do this just for now. Give you your trailing comma.
So C stands for source.
No, now we're still on line 10. It's pretty upset. Oh, I didn't return anything from here. And promises.all needs, and oh no, I did. See, that's what I hate about this syntax is like I did return it. Okay, yeah, so I need to return it. So promises.all needs an array of promises. And this, I don't think I need to put return here, but maybe I do. Certainly doesn't like it. So this should give us an array of promises. No, I need to do a dot map. That gives me the array of promises. For each just like kind of runs them. This language is hard. Tables.map.catch. Okay, because I want the catch to be on the promise.all, and I had it on this function, but I really needed to have it on the promise.all. And now you don't like my, geez. Okay. Let's try again. Okay. Oh, okay. Invalid syntax for integer astro. Cool. Okay, we're getting there. So here, oh, dog should not, right. I was doing this very fast. I need to give it a name and a species ID, and not a species name and a name. You with me on that? Jedi and Mira, you're like, I'm done with this. Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. I'm going super fast. And even then, like, I didn't get to the second question.
This is really helpful.
Okay. Testing promises, super easy. And here it's hanging because the database isn't closing. And I actually haven't come up with a good solution to that. I've been wanting to talk to Panit. Because he said something when we were working with a phase 3 learner that made me think that doing a PG dot end or PGP dot end was like the wrong way to do it. So anyway, yeah. So I'll talk to him about that. So, all right, James, I can talk to you separately about fetch. And in fact, like, I'm going to make Ajax one of the possible lecture topics for tomorrow. So if you choose that, then although I do not have a lot of time, what I didn't talk about in stand-up this morning is that I have 3 phase interviews this afternoon. So it's not going to be a huge amount of time for me to work on lecture. But anyway, I'll give people votes and see what you want. All right. Sorry that I went pretty fast.